Good morning. Today I thought we'd start in the front yard. It's the day after Memorial Day. Early in the morning, a lot of traffic out front. I thought I'd show you my Apointia cactus is blooming. This is a spent flower. It bloomed yesterday. And this one opened today. They only stay open like this for one day. And then they close up and look like that the next. And eventually, they look like that and a fruit may or may not develop. But it's doing well. A lot of morning traffic. I apologize for that. I went ahead and planted up some herbs in the front yard here to take the place of seeds that I planted that didn't grow. Well, they grew, but the birds got to them. Of note here are my tomatoes. They're called Husky. It's a little or cherry tomato. It will eventually, that'll grow about 10 feet long, and I hope to put it along the top of the picket fence. I planted the parsley a couple days ago. I've had the rosemary. This is lemon balm. These tall plants are bee balm. I brought them with me from my other gardens that I used to have up in New York. And they seem to like it here. My lily of the Nile is starting to sprout. You can see 1, 2, 3 heads in there. This side is slightly shadier, and I don't see any sprouts yet. It usually has them, but they're going to be later. There's a little bee working over my wandering Jews. Gardenias are still blooming. These are small dwarf gardenias. They only get about 2 feet tall. They have a beautiful fragrance. Unfortunately, you can't really bring them inside because they are absolutely loaded with little bugs. The flowers are, the blooms. My neighbor's hydrangeas are doing well. I have to cut this bush out here. It's an old crepe myrtle that was cut back. Here you can see the progress on this azalea that was cut back by about 2/3. And you can see it's got a whole bunch of new growth coming. I cut it back pretty much right after flowering. That's the best time to prune back plants. My neighbor's rose of Sharon, still looking nice overhead. It's a beautiful plant. To be truthful, it's a little messy to have over a sidewalk because those flowers only last one day and then they deposit themselves on the sidewalk. I just blew everything off, so that's an accumulation of the last couple of weeks. Now into the backyard. Things are still growing quite quickly here. I trimmed this camellia. Last year I cut it back drastically. I had been sick for a couple of years and that camellia was probably about 15 to 20 foot tall. And I don't want it that tall, so I cut it back severely last year. It didn't bloom. It's a Yuletide azalea. It's one of the first, camellia. It's the first to bloom in the winter. My iachroma is bushed out nicely. It's doing well. This bed I need to clean up a little. It's gotten a little weedy. Everything here looks about the same. Let me start at one side and just pan around. Butterfly bush still blooming. Bougainvilleas have stopped blooming. I've got to start trimming these large camellias here because they are starting to fluff out a little. And here is one of the problems if you do bedding plants all the same. If they die out, there's going to be holes in the bed unless you can buy extra, and of course there's never any extra after you've bought them. What I did notice is some of these are double, like this one, and I'll probably cut it in half and move the other one over there to fill in the dead spot. Although I'm still watering it, it's possible they might come through. Highly doubtful, but it might happen. Palms are still looking good. I showed you them a couple of days ago. What I wanted to show you over here is my kumquat tree is absolutely full of blossoms. Unfortunately, they look nice, but they don't have a fragrance. You see all the little blossom bits falling all over. No problem. I did clean this area up. I worked on it yesterday. Now you can see the metal framework that I was talking about that was underneath the jasmine. I just cut it back to the metal framework itself. And now you can see the two lavenders on either side of the bench. It's kind of opened it up more. I still have to work around the back side of the bench, but it'll all get there. And you notice the nandinas have fluffed out. I had hacked them back a couple of weeks back, and they're doing well. Blueberries still haven't ripened. Oh, I see the squirrels have knocked off a hunk of my Canary Island date palm. It's okay, it flakes off with time. These cycads have really bushed out. And again, the nandinas here are filling in nicely. Let's see how the little sprout is. There you can see where I planted the cutting I took last winter. Doesn't look like it's suffered any shock from being planted. David is still looking good there with the Fatsia japonicas around him. The male blossom of the cycad is now showing. Oh, there's Miss Mimi. Oh, and Baby, her wicked stepsister. They tolerate each other, but they only get about 2 or 3 feet from each other. Is about all they can tolerate. Miss Mimi is marking her territory. The Datura is still doing well. Oh, and the golden chalice vine has sprouted out. This one did as well. And I noticed my Plumeria is starting to sprout. You can see little growth at the tips. Plumerias are beautiful plants, have very fragrant flowers. That's what they make leis out of in Hawaii. And their only drawback is they totally defoliate in the winter. So all those leaves dropped off in November. So you can count how long it's been. But they're sprouting out now. And here I'm trying to grow some more string beans. All the seeds I planted in the front yard, the birds got. So I put string beans in here. About 3 or 4 days ago, I see 1 or 2 maybe a little green, like they're sprouting. But even back here, they're under attack. I had put them under this old stepladder. And the day after I planted them, a raccoon or something came back and dug up a few and then had the nerve to just throw them on the deck. Obviously, he didn't eat them, didn't like them. So I moved them up there so maybe they'll sprout. Here you can see the progress on this pitcher plant. The pitchers have really, I'll put my hand in there just to give you an idea of size. They've really grown. And there's another one on the back side. There's a big one. And that's the name of it again. Well, it's just pitcher plant is what it says, but if you look underneath, Nepenthes alata. And that's about it. The roses are doing well. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to show you, and it's in the front yard. So we'll have to do a little bit of backtracking. Still haven't seen any hummingbirds. I saw one really early in the year, which is why I put that feeder out. This is what I wanted to show you, was the female blossom. Well, it's really a cone. I shouldn't call it a blossom. Of the sago palm. It's grown up enough now that you can actually see the structure. And again, like the male cone in the backyard, no new leaves have come up yet. It sends the flower out first, and then the leaves will follow. So had I cut all of this green off, you'd basically have a stub with just the cone at the top. This one on this side is also a female. For some reason it grows a little bit taller. Let's see the best way to see it, since it's so thick in there. Yeah. There you go. This one is huge. I don't know how the pollen gets from the backyard male to here, but somehow it does. And this has seeds that look like pecans, and they do sprout. I limb this up though so that they don't catch root, otherwise this would be a mass of sago palms. And that's where I wanted to leave you today. So have a good day.